Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we have Eva. She is the founder at Mint Girls, and she has an amazing story of a purpose-driven company. And I would love to, hear more about you, Eva, today, about Mint Girls. How did you find your purpose through this company? And more about where are you at now with your company? How did you manage to fund it? But also, how do you plan to scale it in the future?
Hello, and thank you very much for inviting me, first of all. So I am not a typical entrepreneur, if you want so. So I have started off in insurance, so an industry that is, let's say, very traditional. I have worked for 7 years in insurance and then decided that I want to do something a bit closer to my heart, something that I really deeply care about. I first had a software startup where I helped parents to find great activities for their kids here in Switzerland. That's where I'm based. And after 2 years, I've moved on from that. That is still, let's say, up and running by a competitor. So I handed over that business to a competitor and started my journey with Mint Girls. So Mint Girls is clothing brand for girls, for young girls, to let them wear what they want to wear. So anti-stereotypical clothing. In very simple terms, t-shirts, dresses, leggings with prints that you can normally find on the boys' clothes. So robots, dragons, trucks, and things like that. And how I started it was very personal. I have 3 daughters myself, and the oldest one is very much into planets and rocket ships and everything, not on this earth. So she wanted a t-shirt with those motifs, and she was 3 back then, and I went to the supermarket or to the clothing shop, and there was nothing in the girls section, so I just went to the boys section and bought a t-shirt. She wore it to her daycare, and then there was a bit older boy that came up to her and said, "But you're wearing a boy's t-shirt." So from that day on, this t-shirt was not cool anymore, and she wanted to have something for herself. And I was very surprised that at that age, kids already have the sense of this is a boy's t-shirt or a girl's t-shirt.
Exactly. So how old was she?
So she was 3, but the boy was 4.5.
4.5. Wow, that's really young for them to have already the perception of gender. This is boy, this is girl, yeah.
I mean, for them, the gender topic is not that strong. It's more like this. They start to develop a feeling, okay, there are boys and girls, and there's different things for different kids or different genders. And the one thing that is very clear is there's certain topics that you can only find for boys and certain topics that you can only find for girls. So very straightforward example, the boys have the robots and the trucks, and the more, let's say, scientific things, planets and everything that how does it work, like experiments and those kind of things. And for the girls, it's princesses and dolls and like having this motherly instinct, if you want so. And that is very clear for the kids already because that's what they see, right? The kids pick up very quickly what they see. And so I thought, this cannot be it because she is so young, but this will not get better the older she is. And if she only sees that the planets are for boys and rocket ships, she will never allow herself to still be interested in that because there is nothing for her. So I started to look into it a bit more, and I really found nothing here in Europe. So I must say the US is a bit further on in that journey. So there is a bit more awareness on that topic. And then I started looking into it and said, okay, then I need to do something about it. And that's where Mint Girls then started.
Well, it's really great to hear that. And I love the story of like, having your daughters going through that journey and then seeing that there is no other option. So there is, clothing and the fashion industry is quite a crowded market in that sense. So how did you manage to, say, build your business, stand out, and start promoting such a new concept in a way? Because it's as you said, in Europe, you must have been one of the first to initiate this initiative and say, hey, there are no stereotypes. It shouldn't be gender based clothing, but rather make it genderless, right?
So for me, I'm very clear. I don't want it to be gender neutral, which is kind of the new hype at the moment, like make everything gender neutral. But I'm very clear it is for girls. And I want to go against the stereotypes, because that I think is very important to show to the girls that it is for them. Because as soon as you make it gender neutral, it's for everyone. And girls, again, will not feel, okay, this is a topic that I can pursue if I want to. But yes, you're right. So the fashion industry is very crowded. There is a lot of brands. There's a lot of brands that come and go because it is a very, let's say, tough market in the sense margins are very low. So you need to sell a lot of individual items in order to make a business for yourself. And that you can feel, especially in the beginning. And there is a lot you need to be aware of when you start, in the sense that you need to buy the clothes before you can sell them. Meaning you need a certain cash flow available in the beginning in order to even start the business. Not even talking about, okay, setting up an online shop, which costs money, doing all the legal things like creating a company, doing all the accounting tasks that either you do it yourself or you pay someone. And then something where you can really throw in money, endlessly money, is marketing. You can put so much money into that. If you want to, for your brand to be out there and people to be aware of your brand, you need to do some marketing, and that can cost a lot of money. So what I said, in order to really start this business, I want to make sure that it's not just me that sees the need in that, but I want to feel that people would be interested in that and would want to buy it. Being one of the first ones in this area, so it's not just about clothes, it's really about what is my target audience. The target audience are parents that are aware that kids have different interests, but not only based on their gender, and that want the girls to be in that, be exposed to those topics. So for me, it was then really finding that market, and there is no homogeneous community. It's not football parents where you can go to each organization and say those parents are my target audience, but you have a bit of people here, a bit of there. You can tap into the women's networks, but it's not the one homogeneous group, which makes it interesting because I can be one of the first ones to develop the community, but also challenging in the beginning to really start off. Like, how do you start it off? So I said I want to do a proof of concept for myself, and that for me was a crowdfunding campaign. So I spent 6 months really almost 100% just on the crowdfunding campaign, preparing everything. That sounds a lot, but as soon as you start looking into crowdfunding campaigns, that is what it takes. So for everyone that is not familiar with crowdfunding, there's different platforms out there where you as a customer can go on and buy a product that is not yet on the market. And you know that this product is not yet on the market. So you see pictures of a prototype or of a render or something, and you buy something, and you know that only if a certain amount of other people also buy the product, then it will be produced. So that helped me as a fashion brand to have some money up front before I started the production, but also having people that then were aware of my product, and I could see, okay, people are not only aware of it, but they want to buy it and they're ready to buy it. Because doing a survey up front is very helpful, like asking people, would you buy a t-shirt with a rocket ship for your girl? And people say, yeah, of course I would. But then when you put a price to it and you're like, okay, here's the t-shirt, now you can buy it, they're like, you know what, I actually have enough t-shirts, or I'm not ready to pay this price. Because especially comparing to the big brands that can produce for a lot cheaper than what I can produce for, it makes a difference. And then having this proof that people would actually buy it was very helpful for me. And then it took 6 months for me to develop the product and really have it sent to the customers. And since then, I'm up and running with my online shop and growing slowly but continuously.
I think that's super important for you to be able to, grow, but also it's quite a clever way to validate your business idea, right? Because again, it's not, as you said, a survey. It's now, okay, so are you really willing to pay for that product? And, you know, crowdfunding, it's an amazing platform to do that. But at the same time, as I say, you need a cash machine almost to an extent to be able to continuously fund this kind of business. So I'm more curious to understand how crowdfunding helped as a way of funding, because that's a known way or a less used way to start a business, but it's actually quite a clever and cool idea for you to move forward, validate, but also fund.
Absolutely. So I did have some self-funding for the beginning to build or to register my company and have all the administrative parts set up, let's put it that way. Also to do some prototypes, which I did very low scale. So I printed fabric from an online printing shop in a very small quantity. I asked a friend that is good with sewing to sew me some prototypes. So that was very cheap and just a kind of, let's get this started, do it yourself mentality. But then actually, yes, you do need funding, especially for a fashion business where you need to produce clothes that you normally only sell afterwards. So with this crowdfunding campaign, I could go around it a little bit. I had 12,000 Swiss francs goal, which at the moment is roughly the same in euros, I think. And there, with that money, I could produce some of my clothes. And then obviously with the sales of the leftover clothes, I could fund another collection. I still needed some initial investment from myself because 12,000 francs sounds a lot. But in the end, to produce some clothes, you do need a little bit more to start with and to then again make money, because those 12,000 I already had the clothes sold for, right? So that is definitely something that you need to be aware of, that you do need some cash flow if you start a physical product business.
So now you've went to this crowdfunding campaign, you've managed to, you know, take it off the ground and it's still growing, as you said. What are the next steps for you to continue scaling to the next level?
Yeah, so after my crowdfunding campaign, it was super exciting and I really was super pumped because I was able to have this crowdfunding campaign successfully going through, and I could send my clothes. And as a startup, you go from, hey, this is amazing, I have many people interested in buying, to the next day where you don't have any sales and you're like, oh, this is never going to work. And that's just the life of a startup, and you need to push through those, let's say,
cycles, right?
Yes. Exactly, absolutely. So for me, the hit, let's say last year, was that my autumn collection didn't come through. So as a fashion business, you constantly need new collections because people don't want to wear for years the same, or they don't want to buy the same clothes again, but they want to buy new clothes. So that is definitely something where you need to constantly be out there and have new things. And the autumn collection didn't come through for me last year, which was definitely a down in my journey. And I had to recover from that. My way of doing that was to have a PR campaign beginning of this year, which was very successful, where I had a lot of visibility here in the Swiss market in different magazines and newspapers. And that helped me get the word out there. There is obviously also the social media campaigns that you can run. For me, that was not successful. Google and Facebook ads and things alike. I'm sure there is a way of making that successful. What I have seen is that the people don't even know what to look for. Like when they see my brand, they're like, hey, this is cool. I definitely find that interesting and I want to buy something. But they're not like, I didn't, or very few people are like, I'm looking for a t-shirt with an astronaut on there for girls. Because they are like, oh, yeah, I go to the shop like I did and don't see it. And then I'm like, okay, it doesn't exist. Or I buy a boys t-shirt. And so when people are aware that I'm existing, then they are super excited about it. But what do you Google for if you want to? So for me, I had to find ways of making it work, which is PR. Other brands will say social media is the right way to do it, which is still true. I cannot ignore social media at all, but that's definitely a step on the side. So right now I'm on a deciding path how I want to move forward. The big decision right now is, do I want to keep my online shop purely with my own clothes, or do I want to open up my online shop to other brands that are in the same spirit, colorful clothes that are not gender stereotypical, and bring them to Switzerland, because Switzerland is kind of an island in Europe, not being part of the European Union, and there's import taxes and stuff like that. So it's not so easy to buy from an online store outside of Switzerland. So that is my advantage and disadvantage at the same time, that I can import, but bringing my clothes to Europe is a different story. So my goal with this company is definitely the mission to empower girls and let girls decide for themselves what they want to wear. So giving girls the option of having different things to wear. And for me, it doesn't really stop with clothes. Clothes was my way of going at it, but there is also toys and books and things like that where you have this stereotypical division. So there is a lot to do in that area, and I just need to pick one direction for myself to continue in that path and to say, this is my future. Right now, I don't know where I'll be in a year or two, but there is definitely, I'm super motivated to drive this forward, and there's so many ways you can go and so many directions you can take. And I just need to find the right one for myself to continue growing this business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love the way you also, you had your setbacks and then you managed to overcome them. You tried, your social media, the typical channels of social media marketing, advertisement, and you've seen that doesn't work for you. So then you went on to another way. And it kind of says that, entrepreneurship, it's definitely not easy. There are going to be a lot of setbacks and you need to be mentally prepared, but also now you're finding yourself with a pool of decisions to make. So definitely, I wish you all the best. And to the audience listening, if you have any solution, please leave it in the comments. So what are some tips you would give to an aspiring, given your trajectory, to an aspiring female founder?
Especially women, and I've had a lot of conversations over the years, we think we need to have it all figured out before we start, and we think we need to know exactly how it will be, and we need to have it figured out 120% before we start. And with a startup, that just will never be true. You need to start somewhere. Obviously, there is always the financial decision that you need to take. Can I do this or not? Or do I have the financial means to live without a salary for some months or not? Do I want to start the company on the side of my, let's say, main job that brings in the money? But just do it. And I know this is something that is said very often, but I do think this is especially true for female founders, where we think, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know how it will be. Let me first figure that out and then I can do it. Or let me first see this and that and then. And this then often doesn't happen. So there are things that you do need to think about and look at. But in the end, I mean, my journey shows it very well. You need to adapt as a startup. You don't have it all figured out in the beginning, but you need to adapt. And the initial idea might not be the idea that you will be moving forward in the next 5 years, but you need to see what works and what doesn't and just adapt to that. And one thing that I will say that really helped me a lot is I did not have any experience in the fashion industry or with physical products. And I talked to so many people. I talked to my friends. I told them, do you have anyone that works in this industry that has experience with this and that? I reached out to networks that are here and that are present everywhere and just said, hey, I'm trying to start a business in that area. Is there anyone that has experience? And I didn't have a single person that said, sorry, I don't have time, or I don't want to talk to you. Everyone that had experience in the one area or the other took the time and answered my questions. And I was just there listening to them, writing things down. And obviously then you need to try it yourself, but you can gain so much experience and so many insights from other people that went through the journey. That is amazing, and that you can really take on and learn from that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's also an aspect that caught my attention. We had a previous conversation prior to this interview, and one of the things you were mentioning was, well, let's just go and ask people and get advice. And you would be surprised, as you say, how many people are willing to support you. So that's something, as female founders, we shouldn't shy away, right? So it's something which definitely go for it and ask people who are a step ahead on how to move and scale your business further.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been, amazing having you here. We will leave the links in the description of this video so you can get in touch with Eva, and you can also check out Mint Girls. Thank you for your time, and I wish you best of luck with your journey moving forward.
Thank you very much for the talk, and all the best to you, and good luck to your journey going forward as well. Thank you.